So in this project, we are going to implement a stack in the memory. So if you've seen the stack chapter, we had basically a way that MIPS is handling the stack, and you have a specific register that is the stack pointer, and you're using that to basically track of the elements on your stack. And also the elements itself are stored in a specific location in the memory that is predefined by MIPS. So at least the starting point is predefined. So now the question is that how can you have multiple stacks? So if you want to, let's say, have 3 different stacks of different kinds of elements, which is very common if you're, working on any different programming languages. So how can you actually handle something like that? So in this project, we are going to actually do that. We are going to implement a custom stack using arrays. So basically, you are going to define an array of 100 elements that would hold all the elements of your stack, and you are going to have another register that you can choose, like any register that you want, as a stack pointer. So that register is going to basically track the same way that the stack pointer is tracking the elements. You can basically define another register that is going to do that. So it's exactly the same thing conceptually, but you are handling the operation yourself. So also, we are going to have some custom elements. So here we have few operations that we want to define. So you have a push operation that you're basically adding a new element to your stack. You have a pop operation that you're removing an element from your stack. You do have a operation that finds the maximum element in your stack, so the maximum value in your stack. You have a operation to rotate your stack. So this doesn't have to be from any direction. You can decide it is going to rotate, like move everything to the right or to the left, doesn't matter, as long as it does rotate. But it has to wrap around, and I will show you in example. And then finally, you need an option to basically stop your program. So the way you do that is you're gonna give the user, so the user can enter, for example, 1 to push or 2 to pop. So basically the user input these commands in the console. So this is kind of the text that would show to the user every time. And it should, so if the user, for example, put another number, so let's say if I put number 8, it should say that's an invalid option. So you should cache that error. If the user inputs an invalid input other than number, so for example, if I type some letters or just give an empty input, so MIPS gonna crash, and you don't need to worry about that. So there is a way to catch the exceptions, but we not going to worry about that at this point. So you should assume that the invalid input would be another number out of these numbers, but the user would not input like a letter or any different data type. And basically, so after the user input that, you should run that specific operation and then print the results. So this could be, if it's a pop and push operator, you want to print basically the whole array, or it might be at the max, for example. So every time you can print the whole array, and if there is a specific result, you can do that. And then it's gonna ask the user for next operation again. So it's gonna be kind of like an infinite loop until the user enter that 0 to exit. So another few notes here. If the array is empty and the user is trying to pop or max or rotate, well, there's nothing to work on, so it should just print that the array is empty. We are not going to test the 100 elements, so you should assume that you always have a space. So we're not going to put like 100 elements on your stack. So that upper bound will not be tested, but the lower bound should be tested. So if I keep popping elements and if I'm empty, your program shouldn't crash. And then for the push, pop, rotate, you should print the whole array. It is fine if you actually print the whole array in the main loop every time. So there is the output for the max. And last thing that I want to say is that you should plan how you're going to basically code this project. So what I would suggest is to first make your functions, and you can test them in the main. And in the function itself, you can just put basically just to print like a certain text, just to know that function is working, or a certain number, doesn't matter. So that would be kind of like the first step, to make sure that your functions are not running over another. So on your main, maybe you run each function one time in different orders, and you should actually get that in your output. So then you probably want to implement the main loop. So basically the user enter these values and make sure that you can detect which function should be invoked and calling that functions. And then finally, when everything is working, so kind of like that's a basic wiring, then you should implement each function to basically store the things in the array or rotate or things like that. So that's a project description that is posted on the iLearn. So you can see this one here. Also, there is a starter code that you can use. So you have your basically some labels that you need to print. It's already defined there. This would be your array that is going to hold the elements of your stack. And here you have the labels for your individual functions. So you should basically try to call these first with just a printing inside each of them, and then take it from there. Okay, also I want to show you the output. So this is the Mars. So you see this program is running right now. It's asking me basically this prompt to enter like the option. So first I wanna let's try pop. Actually, we don't have anything, so I'm gonna do pop, and it says array is empty. Good. I want to do a push, so let's do 1. I enter, and then it's waiting for the actual element, so I'm gonna put 18. Let's push again, and you see, notice every time it's printing the array, so that's on the main loop. I'm gonna put like 1. I'm gonna add, let's say 20. I'm gonna do one more time 1 to push another element. I'm gonna put 25. So you see that's added. Let's do 30. So you see we have these, and then I can do, let's say, pop. So if I do a 2, it's gonna get rid of that 30. So now I have 18, 20, 25. I can do another push and even put a negative number. So I can put negative 50. So you see we got that. We can do the number 3 to find the max. So if I do a 3, it says the max is 25, which you can basically verify here. So that's the max. If I do, let's say, do another max, so I do another 90. So now we have another element. I can do the max again. So now it says the max is 90. And then this is optional as a bonus point. So it's a rotate. So if I do 4, so you see that it rotated everything to the right. So 18 was the first element here. Now it's the second element. So everything is moved 1 to the right. And 90 is basically the first element now. So it's actually wrapping around. If I do rotate again, so 90 is going second now, and minus 50 is coming the first element. So it's wrapping around. And I can do pop, basically remove, and now it's empty. If I do find max, still it says array is empty, and rotate also, it does not crash. Also, like it supports if I put another thing, for example, 7, that is none of these options, it says invalid option. And then finally, we can do a 0 to exit. And it basically stops the program.